One of the lads had come out with his samurai sword and tried to attack him. He chopped through the door frame.
His toes had gone black and they thought that he had frostbite.
They're living in filthy conditions, holes in the walls, doors hanging off.
One resident with a learning disability was picked up by a carer and bench pressed before being thrown across the room.
It is about the money, then that's all it comes down to.
Blue Ribbon we refer to as the no care home.
I feel like we've lived through a nightmare.
Yeah.
God knows what it was like for Rowan.
Do you still think about your time there?
Yeah. No, son of...
Rowan beams when he sees his parents, and his mum beams back. Now she knows he's finally somewhere safe. Rowan has profound learning disabilities and needs 24-hour specialist care. Liz and Ian moved him to this new home 2 months ago, after 2 years living in fear, under the care of Blue Ribbon, a private care company in Lancashire.
Right from the very, very start, we thought something was off. It looked awful.
Yeah.
It looked like a prison. It was very, very
was
sad.
dreary. Yeah,
And the
it
staff
wasn't pleasant.
just, they really worried me, the way they
yeah.
presented themselves.
But there's no other support, so...
No, we were told this is the only place he
yeah,
could go to.
yeah.
He was locked in for 7 months without going outside and only seeing 2 carers at a time.
Rowan lived here in Preston, in one of 10 homes owned by Blue Ribbon, who make their money caring for people with learning disabilities. Rowan requires 2-to-1 care at all times, at a cost of £12,500 a week, funded by the NHS. Blue Ribbon promised to enhance his life, empower him. Instead, Liz and Ian say he was never taken out, ignored and severely neglected.
One time we turned up and Rowan was outside. He was naked and he was white with cold and his feet were bare on concrete in a puddle, and the puddle was the overflow from a blocked drain. And when we went inside and asked about it and said, why is no one with him? Why have you put any clothes on him? Why take his feet out the puddle? What is that puddle? And they said, oh yeah, that's where Rowan
urinates
and vomits. So I said, well, he's got his feet in water, which has urine, vomit and faeces floating around in it, and he's got open sores on his feet.
And the night staff would empty the mop buckets by the back door.
That's right, the mop buckets which had urine and faeces
so there was a big
or
pool
vomit or
of-
whatever.
Yeah.
So they would throw the mop bucket slops out onto the garden where Rowan would be walking with cuts on his feet.
Liz and Ian say they would often arrive to find Rowan outside, either naked or without shoes on, walking around in circles in the same patch of grass as this time-lapse video shows, alone, ignored for hours.
We had a phone call over the weekend to say that the paramedics were there because Rowan had been walking outside without his shoes on and his toes had gone black and they thought that he had frostbite, and that's it, that was his life.
Every
For
day.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
And what had he done to deserve that?
Between August 2023 and April 2026, Liz and Ian say they raised more than 100 complaints about Rowan's care, but were told Blue Ribbon was their only option.
I was worried it was,
Yeah.
for his life.
Yeah.
You just didn't know what was going to happen next.
It really is time that some people are held accountable with criminal action. They were happy to invoice the £12,500 a week, £650,000 a year, and post those profits of £2.2 million in shareholder dividends, but spend very, very little on it.
They
on
spent
residents,
nothing on Rowan.
Blue Ribbon we refer to as the no care home.
I feel like we've lived through a nightmare.
Yeah.
So God knows what it was like for Rowan.
In response, Blue Ribbon's CEO, Charlotte Smith, said she was sorry that Liz feels the company did not always meet her expectations and recognises the concerns come from a mother's desire to ensure the best possible care for her son. She said Blue Ribbon sought to maintain open and constructive communication with Liz regarding her son's care and well-being. But the same Charlotte Smith has privately raised serious concerns about her own company. ITV News has seen an internal email written by the Blue Ribbon CEO last November to managers after she visited Willow Lodge, one of the firm's residential homes. Following my visit, she said, in the event the Care Quality Commission had arrived Monday, we would have been facing significant enforcement actions, and that the service presents a significant risk of an inadequate rating, the lowest the regulator can give. She said the door was answered by a staff member who thought I was Uber Eats, didn't check my ID, and incident forms were strewn all over the office. In the lounge, the sofa was revolting, she said, very dirty, I wouldn't sit on it myself. She found parts of the building may be identified as a fire risk, with furniture blocking an exit route. She also found staff who had been suspended from giving medication, and given the volume of medication errors at the service, this would have created some difficult questions from CQC. She concluded by saying, "We are in a very precarious situation." In response, Blue Ribbon said the email demonstrates concerns were identified, escalated and addressed through its governance processes. But our investigation has uncovered allegations of abuse and neglect of learning disabled residents across Blue Ribbon's care homes and supported living services by multiple sources, including families and 8 people who have worked for the company. But ITV News has learned of serious allegations against Blue Ribbon staff. Multiple sources have told us how one resident with a learning disability was picked up by a carer and bench pressed before being thrown across the room. In another separate incident, concerns were raised about 2 staff members who were allegedly encouraging a resident with a learning disability to touch them inappropriately on the breast and the buttocks. Blue Ribbon said the bench press incident fell significantly below their standards of care and staff directly involved were dismissed. The allegation of sexual abuse, they say, was investigated and appropriate action taken.
The most traumatic work experience I've ever had in my life.
Shelley Gray worked as a quality improvement manager at Blue Ribbon until March this year. When she joined in June 2025, she was told a carer was being investigated for allegedly psychologically abusing a resident in their care. Blue Ribbon say the carer was suspended and later dismissed.
There was that many investigations happening at one time. It was, can you come and do these investigations? And then they didn't have enough people to do the investigation. They're not minor things, it's staff sleeping, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. You couldn't keep up.
This video was shared with us from inside a flat in one of Blue Ribbon's supported living services, where a resident was left living in squalor. Food their family made for them left to go mouldy. Multiple sources have told us they found similar conditions across the company.
They're living in filthy conditions, no wallpaper, holes in the walls, doors hanging off, clothes that don't even fit people. The staff, there was cocaine use. There was one particular member of staff that we eventually got rid of, was supposedly using cocaine and being quite aggressive within the services.
Shelley said police were called on several occasions to Blue Ribbon properties, including one incident where a resident attacked another with an ornamental samurai sword.
One of the lads had come out with his samurai sword because he was playing his music too loud, and tried to attack him with a samurai sword, and he chopped through the door frame. But the police did come back eventually, confiscated the sword.
That is, I'm kind of speechless, to be honest.
We weren't sleeping at night, we were that scared to even come home, because the phone would be ringing as quick as you got home, say something else had happened. We've got children ourselves with a learning disability, and just to think that you've got to work with those people and they've got absolutely no values whatsoever. It was soul destroying, really, really was.
On Shelley's allegations, Blue Ribbon said many of the concerns do not reflect important clinical, regulatory or factual context, and other historic concerns were thoroughly investigated at the time. Blue Ribbon is a private company but receives public money through taxpayer-funded care contracts with local councils and the NHS here in the northwest of England. And it receives a lot of public money. ITV News has learned that since 2020, Blue Ribbon has received at least £31 million.
It's kind of salty as it's a person-centred business. The CEO comes and meets you. She just tells you that she knows all the residents by name and she wants to continue that.
This former employee says during his time at Blue Ribbon, he found a business that puts profit over the people it's paid to look after.
I've worked in the industry for a long time and I've worked in challenging services before.
Where would you rank Blue Ribbon in that list of places you've worked?
The worst of the worst. It is about the money. Then that's all it comes down to. It was disgusting. I wouldn't even let my dog live in it. No carpets down, cold, graffiti on the walls, broken doors. Just wrong. And I was told that I was raising too many safeguards to protect the people that we look after.
So you were told by management to stop raising safeguards?
Basically, yeah.
Blue Ribbon say all staff receive mandatory safeguarding training and are expected to raise concerns immediately.
Is there an element of Blue Ribbon taking on people that they aren't capable of actually looking after?
Definitely. Massively. The injuries and the safeguarding that were raised were absolutely ridiculous. They were just constant. I mean, we have unexplained bruising. So local authorities, social workers, LD nurses are all concerned. Numerous have raised concerns with me when I was there.
So it's almost like an open secret amongst services in that area that Blue Ribbon is not capable of doing this stuff.
Definitely.
Do you still think about your time there?
Yeah. A lot. Sorry.
Blue Ribbon told us that all services which have been inspected are currently rated good or outstanding by the Care Quality Commission, and they remain proud of the care that they provide. In response to our investigation, Lancashire County Council, Blue Ribbon's biggest funder since 2020, said they are extremely serious allegations and is now investigating our findings. Rowan is no longer in Blue Ribbon's care. Happy in a new care home, his parents able to breathe again, but unable to truly know what he endured.